I'm going to say something, and I'm pretty sure that not a lot of people are going to be big fans of it. And that's this. If you're an early stage founder, a closed won deal is the least important outcome that you should be concerned about. Let me repeat that. A closed won deal is the least important outcome that you should be worried about. So what does that mean? When you are in that 0 to 1 stage as a B2B founder, you're building something from nothing. You may have a few customers here or there, and you're doing whatever you can to get in front of the next customer and close them on a pilot or close them on a proof of concept or just close them on a license. Just the simple act of winning that deal only gives you so much. It gives you a little bit of runway, but there's a ton that you're leaving on the table. And the fact that you have a blind spot to all the other avenues to wins is a massive problem. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode today. We're going to talk about how there is more than one way to qualify a win when you're an early stage founder. Everyone that's a startup founder talks about wins from the perspective of one dimension. How many customers did you bring into your ecosystem that converted into actual buyers? That's what we qualify as a win. But in that startup stage, if that's the only thing that you're doing, you're missing out on a massive opportunity to build traction faster. For those of you who are new to this channel, hi, I'm Dr. Jim. I talk about go-to-market every single week on this channel. And specifically, I talk about B2B go-to-market for founder-led organizations who are trying to go from 0 to 1 to growth to traction. This is the channel that you would watch if you're trying to build something from the ground up and you're trying to bootstrap it, don't have a lot of resources, and you want to be scrappy in how you get in front of your customers and learn enough so that you can exit the learning loop and proceed to getting traction. That's what we talk about week in, week out. Go ahead and drop me a subscribe if this is something that you're interested in. So why am I saying that winning a deal, closing a customer, is the least important outcome that you could get out as an early stage startup? I'm not saying that it's not important. I'm saying it's the least important. The reason is simple. Your mindset at that early stage of the organization needs to be different than what it is when you're a more mature organization. When you've figured everything out, when you have your messaging down, when you have your go-to-market motion built, and you have your playbook developed, you can focus on the wins. And you can focus on wins as the measurable criteria for you to gauge progress. When you're in that 0 to 1 stage, there's a whole different set of criteria that you need to be thinking about on a week in, week out basis that's going to shape your perspective. So what do I mean when I say that? It's easy enough for us to figure out what a win looks like. Contract is signed, customer gets launched, and they're using the product. That's simple. But the real value in that outcome is what you've learned before that win and what you learn after that win. And there are 4 things that you need to take away from every prospect engagement that also should count as wins. And all of this is rooted in a mindset question. One of the things that we always talk about is that we want to build customers for life. We want to give people a level of experience that they keep coming back to us over and over again and buy repeatedly from us. But when you think about that as a startup founder, think about the experience that you're giving your buyer. If the only thing that you're concerned about is getting them to sign on the dotted line, what sort of experience are they getting through the process and after the process that encourages them to come back to you and trust their business to you for another product or service? And that's where I think a lot of founders miss the boat. So when we're talking about how to do this successfully and effectively as a 0 to 1 stage founder, there's other things that we need to be concerned about and other things that we need to focus on so that we can maximize each customer interaction. So what are the 4 things that we need to think about that also count as wins? What else should we be thinking about? Every touch point that we have with a customer is an opportunity for discovery. And I've talked about before on several episodes about how we need to think about discovery as a process versus a stage. And in keeping with that theme, there's 4 other ways that you can qualify a customer or prospect into a win that often gets overlooked. And the first one is leveraging that prospect conversation to learn more about your market or learn more about the buyer. One of the big missed opportunities in how early stage startups go to market is that they are not doing enough work on the market research side or the buyer behavior side. There's a lot of things that you need to learn before you get to that ultimate closed won stage. And part of that involves understanding what's going on in the marketplace, what's going on in the buyer's world, and how do buyers make decisions when considering products like yours. There's a whole swath of validation and messaging that needs to get fine-tuned. And the only way that you can do that is by getting into the prospect's kitchen and asking them how they see the world. Because that customer perspective is what should help you shape how you go into the market and what you talk about. If you're not leveraging each prospect to have that buyer behavior analysis and market research done, you're guessing at what's important to the buyer and you're guessing at what's going to land when you're talking about getting new customers on board. The second missed opportunity that you're probably leaving on the table is the opportunity to conduct product research and competitor analysis. This is another win that you can get out of every single prospect that you connect with that a lot of early stage founders ignore. And this is actually some of the most critical things that you can gather from the marketplace to help figure out how you want to position your product or service. So think about it. You spent all this time building a great product in your mind, and you have a prototype or even a working model that's out there, and you think that it solves problem X, Y, and Z, and the features that stand out are A, B, and C. So you go to market saying that this is what you solve, these are the great features that it has, this is how it's going to impact your life. So if you haven't taken the step to do buyer interviews and do market research, you're already behind. And then you're selling the product in a way that might not resonate with your buyer. And that's another opportunity that you have to leverage buyer voice to understand where your product is positioned. Instead of guessing at what's important, take the opportunity to talk to your buyers and have them give you feedback on the features and capabilities of the product that you have and what makes it stand out and why. That's how you leverage a customer conversation to drive product research and product positioning. The other thing that you need to think about is always asking the question, we solve this, how does that impact you? How does this compare to other products that you've seen? And that competitive analysis that you get from that last question is going to be a gold mine for you as you figure out how you want to position your product against the competitive landscape. And you might be sitting there thinking, I'm creating my own category. That may or may not be true. It's very rare for that to be actually true. So assume that you have competitors in the marketplace. Knowing from your potential buyers how your product stands out compared to the competition is extremely valuable for you as you continue on your growth journey. So what do you think about what I've said so far? What stands out? What aren't you connecting with? Drop that in the comments. I'd be curious to understand how this is resonating with you. A third way that we should be thinking about when it comes to redefining what a win looks like when we're at the early stage of a startup is asking the question, is this a channel partnership opportunity? Is this a referral partner opportunity? Oftentimes we go into these conversations with early prospects and our goal is to just show them our product and see if there's a fit or any interest or signals that we can gather from it. And that's fine to do, but you're leaving things on the table if you're not actually getting an understanding of how that customer does business and who their customers are. Because by understanding that, you might open up the opportunity for that prospect that's in front of you to be a referral channel to their customers, because their customers might actually be the better product fit for what you bring to the table. But if you're not creating an experience on the front end of that entire buyer journey to evaluate what partnership alignment there might be, you're missing the boat. You're moving through that process with a single-minded purpose of getting a signature on the dotted line where there could be multiple ways that you could realize wins, and you're leaving all of those on the table. So when you're thinking about how do we rethink what a win looks like, evaluating each prospect for the potential of being a referral partner or a channel partner is an opportunity that you shouldn't sleep on. The last thing that I want to point out when we're thinking about rethinking what a win looks like as an early stage founder is the whole idea of community. One of the things that I talk about all the time on this channel is that you have to meet buyers where they are. And when you think about that, let me put it into perspective. Out of your entire potential customer landscape, there's only 3% of your customers that are looking to buy your solution or a solution like yours right this second. That means 97% of your market isn't in the market for your solution right now. And if you're going outbound with the intention of trying to close every person that you talk to into a win, you're not only pissing a whole lot of people off and annoying them, you're also missing a massive opportunity to win that business later. Part of what you have to do as an early stage founder is work the long game and the short game at the same time. So what happens when you meet a prospect, and they're not ready for your solution right now, or they haven't thought about the problem that you solve in that particular way? What if they're not even aware that a problem exists? That's going to be where most of your market falls. So how do you create an experience that allows you to go back to them when they're in a different stage of their development? When you use a transactional outbound approach, that's what you actually miss. You miss the opportunity to do that because it is a binary outcome. They either buy or don't buy. And if they don't buy, you have no real mechanism or reason to reach back out to them in any meaningful way. And that's where thinking about the concept of community and creating a community pathway for everyone that you talk to be retargeted later is one of the huge missed opportunities that exists and that occurs within that 0 to 1 startup stage. You should be thinking about, with every customer, how you can funnel them across those 4 other channels that count as wins outside of just getting a closed won signature. If you're not thinking about those 4 other pathways, you're selling yourself short and you're creating a path to traction that is a lot tougher than it needs to be. The mindset that everyone should shift to when you're a 0 to 1 stage founder is maximizing each interaction so that you're learning as much as possible from every single prospect that enters your ecosystem. It's that learning that's going to drive your product development and your positioning and your validation and your messaging and everything else that flows from it, which is going to actually give you the critical mass that you need to build enough wins to get to traction. But if you're only focused on getting that win and not doing any of that other stuff, you're going to have a lot of gaps that you need to figure out later. And figuring out later can be quite the process if you're working off of assumptions that you cooked up in your head and never validated from the perspective of the buyer. So when you think about how you want to go from 0 to 1 to growth to traction, part of the formula of going through that journey is redefining what a win looks like. Yes, we absolutely want to get people signed up on our product or service, and we all absolutely want to get them launched. That is the most obvious outcome that we're all driving for. But if that's the only outcome that you're driving for, you're missing 4 great opportunities to build a customer for life and use the customer that you're already in front of to shape the direction of where you want to go from a product perspective. Those are massive missed opportunities, and I want to make sure that everybody is thinking about those things as being just as important as getting the revenue in through the doors. So hopefully you liked this conversation. Drop me a comment and let me know what stood out for you about it. How does this reshape what you're thinking about? If you like this conversation, make sure you drop me a follow and subscribe. If there's a topic or question that you want me to cover in depth, let me know as well. That could be a future episode that I put out for you. If you like this conversation, make sure you check out this playlist and you check out this episode. I think you'll find those interesting as well. Until next time, thanks for hanging out, and tune in next time where I'll have another GTM conversation focusing on how early stage founders can go from 0 to 1 to growth to traction.